Chapter 15. What did you do on your summer vacation? From Dr. Bill. September 2nd to 7th, 2008. After our press release, Ken, Lauren, and I hold a press conference at the headquarters of the Palestinian news agency Ramatan. We have started trying to play hardball. We have been stuck here for over 4 days. We feel we have given the consulates, politicians, and the diplomats long enough to coordinate. We thank Israel for giving us the opportunity to personally experience what it feels like to be deprived of the ability to travel, just like 1.5 million Palestinians from Gaza, who have it much worse than we do. At the press conference, Dr. Riyad Seraj and Dr. Mona Relfera make appeals in Arabic on our behalf. This press conference doesn't seem to have much effect. The Ramadan pace works against us, as several reporters fail to file their reports to their news agencies in a timely manner. Ramadan is fasting and family time, which takes priority over us. A few things we said in English have also come back to bite us in the butt. Online article headlines the next day state, boat activists blame Egypt for blocking Gaza exit. This is not exactly the spin that we wanted, and it could compound bad feelings among the Egyptians and make our situation more complicated. That evening we hold a candlelight vigil with women who are separated from their families outside of Gaza. The following morning, I go to work trying to extricate myself from Gaza and get back home. I email my friends and family back home to try to help me out. I write the following email to the US embassies in Egypt and Israel and also send it by fax. The 2nd of September 2008 to whom it may concern exit from Gaza. My name is Dr. William L. Deans Jr. or I'm a family and emergency room physician from Omak, Washington, USA. For the past month, I have been the chief medical officer for the Free Gaza movement boats. As you may know, we successfully sailed from Cyprus and entered Gaza port directly from international waters in accordance with international maritime law. We are the first such boats to enter Gaza directly from the sea since June 1967, a time span of 40 years. Our 2 boats, the Liberty and the Free Gaza, returned to Cyprus on the 28th of August 2008. I stayed on in Gaza to coordinate the delivery of medical supplies to local Gaza hospitals and clinics, and to try to assist patients who require transfer out of Gaza for medical reasons. I have since attempted to leave Gaza on the 29th of August through Erez crossing into Israel but was denied. In fact, our group of unarmed Palestinians and human rights workers was threatened with being fired on by the Israeli border guards. We proceeded anyway to the Iron Gate and fortunately we were not shot at. The Israelis would not open their Iron Gate, however, so we were forced to retreat. On the 30th of August and the 31st of August 2008, I along with 3 other internationals from the UK, Ireland, and Australia, attempted to leave Gaza through the Rafah crossing into Egypt. We spent 9 hours on Saturday and another 13 hours on Sunday there trying to get across, so we can travel home. We were kept in limbo until the very end on each day, before being denied exit. At the end, the stated reason given to us for their refusal was that we entered Gaza by sea. I can only speculate about the real motivations behind Egypt's refusal at this point, so I won't. All I can say is it comes as a complete surprise. If you could assist in helping me exit from Gaza, I would appreciate it. I have a plane ticket to Europe, and I'm scheduled to leave Frankfurt, Germany, and then on to Spokane on Saturday, the 6th of September 2008. I'm scheduled to start back at work seeing my patients at Family Health Centers in Tonasket, Washington, on Monday, the 8th of September 2008. Respectfully, Dr. William L. Deans Jr. The next day, I get the following responses from US consulates in Israel and Egypt. Request transfer out of Gaza through Erez from Zaina Luke v. Zaina LV at state.gov. Sent Wednesday the 9th of March 08, 7:29 a.m. Dear Dr. Dienst. On Sunday, the Consulate General passed on your request for exit through Rafah to the Egyptian authorities. Today we contacted the Israelis about possibly facilitating your exit through Erez. The response from the Israeli authorities was that their standing policy is anyone entering Gaza illegally, that is, by sea, cannot exit through Israel. The other issue, however, is that even if they were to permit exit through Erez, you could be subject to arrest by the Israeli authorities. We will continue to be in contact with the Israeli authorities to see how you might exit Gaza, but for the moment at least, the Erez crossing does not appear to be a viable option. Please keep us informed of any developments, and we will definitely do likewise. Luke Zana, U.S. Consulate General, Jerusalem, An. Request transfer through Rafah out of Gaza from Consular, Cairo Niv, Consular Cairo Niv, at state.gov, sent, Wednesday the 9th of March 08, 7:58 a.m. to William Dienst. Dear Sir, thank you for your email message. Unfortunately, we are not able to accommodate your request as we are not able to overrule any Egyptian authorities. Regards, consular staff. Since we are all stuck, we decide to keep doing productive things here, while we wait for the diplomatic ice to break. We meet with Mr. John Jing, an Irishman and the current director of UNRWA in Gaza. He feels Israel's policies, since its Supreme Court declared Gaza a hostile entity in September 2007, is lunacy in terms of humanity, legality, and logic. Creating a man-made catastrophe does not resolve any problems, it compounds them. Israel's Gaza policies are clear violations of international law and the Geneva Conventions. And it defies logic, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of hopelessness, which produces violence. The borders have been open for only a few select UN officials and politicians who must toe a more ridiculous line in order to be let in and out of Gaza. There has been a ceasefire in effect for over 2 months, and still Israel has not lightened up on the siege. The so-called quartet keeps issuing empty platitudes and does nothing. There is presently a more positive security situation and there is no reward. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu has said, this is an abominable situation, with an appalling lack of an international reaction. There is no agricultural support. Buffer zones are widened as farmland is destroyed, and people in Rafah are displaced, and living with relatives now in more overcrowded conditions. Gaza now receives less social support from the outside than a prison. This is absurd on the 6th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the 6th anniversary of the Palestinian Nakba. Mr. Ching believes that the international community needs to restore the belief that non-violent action such as the present ceasefire will lead to positive results. Local Gazans will need escape from total despair. The international community needs to demand from Israel, why is the border still closed, and when are you going to open it? The international community needs to insist that action be taken, especially for Gazans with time-sensitive situations like medical conditions that need specialty treatment outside, and college students whose future careers are jeopardized by this blockade. My wife and support network back home are now pushing all the buttons to get me back home. Miriam Torsen Spokane creates an ad hoc committee to free Dr. Bill Dienst from Gaza. Washington State Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers' office phone starts ringing off the hook. My support network back home also starts calling my Washington State Senators Mariah Cantwell and Patty Murray's office to intervene. And my friend, Jim Enns, a survivor of the Israeli attack on the US Liberty in 1967, and author of the book, Attack on the Liberty, is in touch with his friend, former Senator from South Dakota James Kafkaesque, who is in touch with Egyptian authorities. Dear Dr. Ramadan, as you can see from the email from Dr. Dienst, he has been blocked from exiting Gaza both by Israel and by Egypt. It's a bit embarrassing to have an American doctor who is trying to help people held up by political considerations. I hope you can have your government allow him to exit Gaza so he can come home. Many thanks. Jim Kafkaesque, former US Senator South Dakota. We do get action from Washington State Congresswoman McMorris Rogers and Senator Cantwell also. The next day I go out with the Palestine Medical Relief Society's mobile health van down to the town of Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip along the coast. I volunteered a lot with these mobile health vans in the West Bank and Gaza when I was here in 2006. Since then, their main office in Gaza was bombed by Israel, and they have had to move. Their medical infrastructure is starting to fall apart now compared to when I visited before. Basic medical supplies that were previously well stocked are now lacking. We spend a very frustrating morning seeing desperately poor patients needing medications and specialty care that we do not have. For instance, a man with chronic pain from compression, fractures in his spine, and a woman with kidney failure who needs to see a kidney specialist but lacks the resources to do so. It is Ramadan, and the mobile clinic is not as busy as usual. So we leave early and head back to Dr. Riyad's house for an afternoon Ramadan rest. In the evening, Dr. Kamis, the rehab specialist from Al Wafa Hospital, drops by and asks if I would be willing to work a few emergency room shifts at the main hospital, Al Shifa. There are plenty of Palestinian doctors in Gaza who speak perfect Arabic. I do not. Why do you need me? I ask. Because there is a crisis at the hospital. 2 girls died last night of meningitis and pneumonia. Why the crisis? The Fatah doctors are on strike, he answers. Why are they on strike? Because their bosses in the West Bank have told them that if they work, they will not get paid, and if they don't work, they will, he answers. I don't like the sound of this. Tell you what, I finally say. Let's set me up for a 4-hour shift and see how it goes. I will let you know, Dr. Kamis says. He never does. The next day, I'm summoned to another physician's apartment for coffee. I'm warned not to get involved. Hamas is trying to use you. I'm told that several of the Fatah physicians who went on strike have now been thrown in jail by Hamas. This is extremely sad. Under extreme isolation and pressure, the whole medical system is imploding. I'm getting frustrated, and I start thinking of other, perhaps unconventional means of getting out. I'm also extremely enraged about the minimal coverage that the Free Gaza movement and the Gaza Siege are receiving in the American media. I start plotting a master prank to get me out, and perhaps bring Jerusalem-based reporters from the New York Times, CNN and Fox to the Al Daira Hotel to cover all the action. I explain my twisted plan to Dr. Riyad El-Serraj. The Western media wants to report on terrorism and kidnapping in Gaza, right? If it bleeds, it leads, I explain. What they need is a good kidnapping of a Westerner to get them to leave their cushy little assignments in Jerusalem and come to Gaza. So let's arrange for me to slip out through the tunnels in the middle of a Ramadan night. Then I can be smuggled down to the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, where I can blend in as a Western tourist. I will even shave and get a haircut. Meanwhile, you can claim that I have disappeared. We can make up a name of a fictitious previously unknown terrorist group that calls in and claims responsibility for my abduction. I will bet that those American reporters will be racing across Israel to Erez crossing to cover the scoop. The Israelis will let them right through to report the bad news about those Palestinians. Pundits back home will then make total asses of themselves, condemning the terrorists and perhaps condemning us for being so naive. I can then sneak across the Red Sea to Jordan on a fishing boat. It's not very far from Sharm el-Sheikh. Then after the pundits make total asses out of themselves, I can show up at a press conference in Amman and explain how it was all a joke. That is an interesting idea, Dr. El-Serraj responds. He smiles, but says no more. I want him to hook me up with the folks who know the tunnels. So you want me to introduce you to the true underworld of Gazan society, he chuckles. A few days later, I start pressing him again to line me up with the tunnelers. I believe you have a tunnel fetish, remarks Riyad El-Serraj, the psychiatrist. On Sunday morning, September 7th, Lauren Booth wants to attend church. We go to Sunday Mass at Gaza's only Catholic parish, with Monsignor Manuel Musalem, nicknamed the Pope of Gaza, presiding. Having grown up with the Catholic Church, it is interesting to try and follow the familiar Mass in Arabic. Later we visit the Jabalia Rehabilitation Society in Jabalia refugee camp. This school also cares mainly for students who are hearing